Give me a minute and let's give you a frontline update from Avdiivka. Now, it's worth mentioning that the Russians are pushing hard. They're pushing hard all up and down the northern extension of the line here. Kupiansk, Bakhmut, Mariinka, etc. But nowhere are they pushing as hard as in Avdiivka. And what we see is nominal progress. 300 meters here, 800 meters there, maybe 800 meters. So let's zoom in. Let's take a look. This is Avdiivka, and you can see from this 30,000 foot view that the lines have not moved, despite the fact that we are now 70 days into this push and the third major wave of attacks. We'll start down here in the industrial area. If we zoom in down there, here's the situation. You can see the Russians have pushed, it's close to 800 meters, I think. That's what it looks like about, through that industrial zone. You may recall in earlier videos, I've talked about the fact that the Russians had leveled the place block by block. Unfortunately, that left them with nowhere to hide. And they are surrounded on three sides by the Ukrainians. And the Ukrainians have multiple electronic warfare equipment in the area, which means that the Russians are basically powerless to use their drones. When their drones get within range of the electronic jamming, they fall out of the sky. Now, the practical upshot of this is that the industrial zone has become a kill box. The Russians just keep coming in along this same road. The Ukrainians keep eliminating them over and over and over again. And the reality is, the situation is about the same up on the northern flank. So zooming back out, there's Avdiivka from 30,000 feet. Now we're going to zoom in on the coke plant and Stepove. And the situation here is in fact far worse. There are 3 kill zones established just outside of Stepove, in the first few houses, what's left of them in Stepove. Where the concrete walls are, that's where the 2 Ukrainians that surrendered were summarily executed. And then finally, on this road to the coke plant that the Russians are now calling the road of death, the death road, because they keep going down it and nobody ever comes back. And you'll notice that despite the fact that at this point, thousands of Russians have gone down that road, the lines haven't really moved. The gray zone has expanded, but basically the line is still the railroad tracks. It gives me no pleasure to bring you this report. I think it's insane. I think that it's absolutely insane that this continues. According to U.S. military estimates, the Russians have now lost at least 17,000 men. And that's lost. That's KIA in Avdiivka in the 70 days since this began. Despite the fact that there is more action up here, the industrial zone in the south actually has the highest casualty rate, with as many as 514 Russian soldiers making the ultimate sacrifice there in one day. In one day. Russia wants us to believe that their resources are inexhaustible, that they can keep this up forever. No one can possibly believe that. This is insanity. And yeah, it does look a lot like Bakhmut. You know, the Ukrainians continue to maintain as their number one priority the preservation of Ukrainian lives, while the Russians just keep throwing men against them and making the Ukrainians end every one of them. I don't know what else to say. And this is being repeated around Sinkivka. It's being repeated in Marianka. It's being repeated in Bakhmut. Although legitimately in Bakhmut, the Russians have taken a little bit more ground. I don't know how long they can possibly keep this up. And frankly, I don't know how long the Ukrainians can continue to massacre the Russian forces like this before it drives them all mad. Because it can't be easy on either side here. It's a nightmare. It's a living hell. And we should really get our shit together and get behind a Ukrainian victory and put an end to this insane slaughter of an entire generation of Russians. Thank you.